One more question. What would you say to the president if he's sitting right here?
I would never sit across from him.
You would never. You didn't want to talk to him?
Nah. I sit across from Barack, though.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about LeBron James and his new school, and also the interview that he did on CNN with Don Lemon. And you saw some of that before I saw that rolling here today. Before we even get into the interview, because that was pretty interesting, I just want to say that the school that he's coming up with, called the Promise School, sounds great on paper. It's going to be 240 kids, 3rd and 4th grade in Akron, Ohio. The Promise School is part of LeBron James's foundation, and Akron public schools have partnered with them to bring the school out there. So I'm not really sure if it's classified as a charter school, public school, private school, or whatever. Maybe it's one of those things where if you're going to public school and you meet the requirements, you're underperforming in reading in other places, you're underprivileged, maybe an income-based thing, and it might be at a certain point a lottery system going along with it. If you meet those qualifications, you'll just be going to that school for those grades, or on up until the school meets its maturity, which is supposed to be, it will have 1st through 8th graders and 1,000 kids. That's basically how that is. Kind of like a VOTEC program. If you go to VOTEC, you're not going to regular school, although you're considered to be part of the regular school system. That could be how it is, but I'm not quite sure. If you know more about that, let me know in the comments. So on paper, it sounds good. You're going to be there from late July, early August to May, 9 to 5. They get breakfast, lunch, and a snack. It seems good. What I've not heard a lot about is the quality of education that the kids will get. You know, because I keep hearing about the other things. I keep hearing about, LeBron James is going to be behind it. It's going to be in Akron. If they graduate from the school, they get to go to the University of Akron. And by the way, if it's going to be 1st through 8th, you can't graduate from the school. Maybe if you just complete it. But maybe it's different nowadays, because when I was going to school, I'm not that old. I'm in my 30s. But when I was going to school, there was no graduation until you got to high school. That was it. It wasn't elementary school, middle school. It was only high school. So maybe if you graduate from middle school and then make it to high school, you could still go to the actual college. I'm not quite sure. Whatever the case may be, a lot of things on paper seem to be great. But I just want to kind of pump the brakes to congratulate him on the success of the school until the school actually shows some promise. No pun intended. There are other schools that have been started the same way that didn't perform well, and some that have. I think only time will tell. And in the beginning, it's going to be kind of hard to tell, because you're going to have teachers that are in a new system, kids that are in a new system. They have to get acclimated to it. And you may have a high turnover rate in the beginning, because what teachers are you going to get? How much are they going to get paid? What is going to be the level of preparedness for these kids? Because like what was mentioned earlier, these kids are coming from challenged backgrounds. They're already behind in reading, math as well. And they got, home lives that are kind of questionable. So it's difficult to tell what's going to happen with these kids when they get into the program. Now, having said all that, I don't like LeBron James personally. I like the things that he does, but I don't really like him. Prime example, on a basketball court, you're not really going to find too many guys that have ever been better than him. I mean, this is a man amongst boys when it comes to the game of basketball. A perennial all-star. He's been to the finals like 8 straight years. He's not won a lot of them, but that's a different story, and I digress. But basketball-wise, he's fantastic. As far as being a father, I'm not really sure how he is at home, how he treats his kids and his wife or whatever, but this is kind of actually a rare thing to see an NBA player be with his wife from high school or college, and then have kids only with her and not be a philanderer. A lot of that goes on in pro sports. A lot of these guys are getting raked over the coals in child support. And I also like the fact that he has his childhood friends with him that are not just an entourage, they're actually doing business. So I like the things that he does, but I don't like him. I don't like the way that he behaves a lot of the times. He reminds me of a boy that has not grown into being a man, and I'm just not really feeling that side of what he does too much. And in this interview with Don Lemon, which I'll place in the box below, I can't really play it here because it is CNN and they will flag me. But in this interview, he really just displayed a lot of what makes me think that about him. First of all, it was with Don Lemon, and Don Lemon pretty much injected himself into the interview and led LeBron down the road by the questions he was asking him, and LeBron didn't really try to fight against it. When you're in the interview, sometimes they'll ask you leading questions, and you need to be able to not allow them to lead you that way. Answer the questions the way they need to be answered, rather than the way that the person interviewing you wants you to answer them if they're asking you leading questions. It's just like being interrogated by a lawyer or something like that. You need to answer the questions the way that you need to answer them rather than the way that they want you to answer them. Because Don Lemon was saying things like, oh, well, isn't Trump this? Isn't Trump that? Don't you think this? As in, if I think that way, you must think that way. And if you don't, then you're going to look bad in this interview and you're going to be wrong. And LeBron pretty much fell for it every time, unfortunately. Even the time where Don Lemon asked LeBron if he would run for president. I mean, come on, LeBron James. I mean, like I said, great basketball player, great guy as far as what he does, but let's be real. I don't think LeBron James is really even that good at reading. How are you going to be the president? You know, he doesn't really understand politics at all. And that point was made clear at the particular point where I played before this video, where Don Lemon asked him, would you sit down with the president? What would you say if you are across from him? And then LeBron James said, I will never sit down with the president, but I'll sit down with Barack, though. It's like that kind of childish little boy mentality is what I don't like about LeBron. And this is part of the problem with the black community and also with people that are never Trumpers. Look at what Kim Kardashian was able to do when she went to the White House. Do you think that Kim Kardashian is a Trump supporter? Do you think she voted for Trump? Absolutely not. But guess what? It doesn't even matter. She was still able to come to the table and get Alice Marie Johnson freed. All right. She was at the White House, presented her case. 1 week later, Alice Marie Johnson was free. So if you're LeBron and you had the opportunity to sit down with the president, this guy can change the kids that you have at your school. He could change their life, right? Because he can divert money. He could do a lot of different things from the federal level, or even put pressure on people at the local level in Ohio to get certain regulations abolished, any kind of roadblocks to the education system. He can actually get things done. So why would you not sit down with him? You want to sit down with Barack. Why? For what? What can Barack Obama do? Barack Obama's not in government. And what did he do when he was in government that would help anybody, let alone the black community? I mean, what? Free a bunch of dope boys, jack boys, murderers, robbers. Is that what he did? People that are going to go right back to the black community, right back to American society in general, and cause mayhem, disturbances, and more of the crime that many of us would elect a president or any other public official to get rid of. Why would you sit down with him just because he's black, just because he's cool and you like to handshake him? You might not like Trump. You might not like the way he comes off, but it doesn't even matter. Now, maybe LeBron wants to just save face because he's come against Trump on Twitter before, called him a bum, and has spoken out against him when it comes to the whole anthem kerfuffle in the NFL. But look, you see what Trump was able to do with Kim Jong-un in North Korea. You're talking about much more serious things that were said between the two of them. I mean, you're talking about things that could impact the safety of millions of people. North Korea is threatening Guam with nuclear weapons and all this and that. We're threatening them. Some serious, actual real world stuff going on, right? But yet they were able to go to Singapore, put all that to the side, and then figure out a way to come to some kind of middle ground or some kind of peace. Now, that's kind of up in the air whether North Korea is going to uphold their end of the bargain. But so far, they've been cooperating, handing over remains of POWs. There's a lot of different things that are going on. Those things would not have happened if these two people were not able to put their differences aside and come to the table and sit down. So LeBron, you're talking about really petty issues. You're talking about the anthem kneeling. You're talking about just stupid stuff. The shut up and dribble that came from Laura Ingraham. You're talking about really petty personal things that hurt your fifis. Sit down and talk to this man and put all that to the side. You can go on Fox News, anywhere you can go to amplify your message, to get more assistance for your school, because you're going to need it. You're going to need people from far and wide, good teachers, to turn these kids' lives around, because you're not just trying to have a normal public school or private school, charter school or whatever. You want to take disadvantaged kids that already can't read in the third grade. And from what I've read all across the internets and everywhere else for a long period of time is, once you get to the third grade and you're already behind in reading, it's pretty much a wrap. If you can't read at that age, you might as well just go drop out and pick up a trade, because you're not really going to be able to succeed academically on par with your classmates who have been reading since before they came into the public school system. You're talking about kids that are 2 and 3 years old that can read at least a little bit, and then when they get to school, all they do is just improve upon those skills. So you're going to need a lot of help to turn these kids around and to make their school successful. If your goal is just to have a school that looks good on paper and you can get attention by saying, hey, I made a school, I did this and I did that, kind of like Barack Obama. Maybe that's why he wants to talk to him, because Barack Obama was all about that as well, all about empty things that weren't really impactful, but it added to his so-called legacy, right? And now he's getting triggered because Trump is dismantling this so-called legacy. But the legacy was not even that. It was a house of cards built on a foundation of sand. Anybody could have come and just plucked it, or a slightly strong breeze could have come and collapsed the whole thing. So there's no need for Barack Obama to get triggered. But like I said, maybe that's why LeBron wants to meet with Barack Obama, because they have some of the similar ideas in their head. They want to get things accomplished that really don't matter at the end of the day. And when it really comes time to get stuff done, they don't actually show and prove, which is why LeBron James has not been that good in the finals. But I'm kind of getting a little off track. At the end of the day, as I close, I think it's a great thing that's coming up with the private school in Akron, Ohio, for the underprivileged or underperforming children. Free bus ride if you live 1 or 2 miles away. You're going to be there from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Breakfast, lunch, snack. You're going to have them in there part of the summertime. It's a good thing. 240 kids right now, 3rd and 4th grade, and he's going to expand, I think, by 2022 to 1st through 8th grade and right around 1,000 kids. Great thing on paper, but let's see how it actually plays out. And if you really want to get some stuff done, you got to talk to the guys that are higher up. If you don't want to talk to Donald Trump, are you going to talk to the governor? I'm not sure who the governor of Ohio is right now, but if it's a Republican guy, are you going to talk to him or her? And if so, why? If not, then why not? Just because Trump had a few choice words for athletes on Twitter, you're going to let that little thing block your ability to make your school better, to make your city better, to make these kids better? That seems pretty petty and pretty childish, and that is not the mark of a good leader. So what do you think? Do you think that LeBron James' school will be successful? I mean, I hope that it does become successful, but at the same time, I feel like he may block the success of it if he's not open to speaking to people who he disagrees with. That's business. That's life. If you want to get things done, you got to open yourself up to those who you don't agree with, even vehemently so, because you can't always get things done with those who you have a perfect harmony and chemistry with. That's just not the reality of the world in which we live. Disagreements are going to happen, fallouts are going to happen, fights are going to happen, but how are you going to get the actual end game done when it's all said and done? But do you think that the school is a sham? It won't really be anything? Do you think that LeBron James is just showing off for the camera and just trying to get attention? This whole single parent household thing, does that play into it? I think that there is a level of attention that's wanted here, but I think there's also a level of genuine concern for these youngins, because in an interview, he was talking about himself, saying how he never really had a lot to eat at home, or it was just kind of a bad situation at the house, and he would have liked to have had a school environment that would maybe kind of I don't want to say replace home life, but supplement it by giving him tools that he was not privy to at his home. So whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.